Every wise man knows that Mexican women are famous for two things: their beauty and their susceptibility to charm. Watch this. Good evening. Let me guess. You drink tequila. Barman, 2 glasses of talisman. I'm about to wow you with a tequila experience that's going to take you back to your roots. When the talisman does tequila, we don't need salt, we don't need lemons. No fancy gimmicks. What you're about to taste is just the finest agave distilled to perfection. You know, just like your granddad used to make back in old Mexico.
But babe, I'm German.
Whatever.
Talking about another rich billionaire pedophile. Robert Miller was the richest man in Quebec for a while. Tied up with the Bronfmans and Wexner, like a lot of these characters. And other than people around his area in Canada, almost nobody knows this story. Just saw an ad with Tristan Tate. There was far more news about Andrew and Tristan Tate's accusations of human trafficking and setting up a criminal gang than there was on actual convictions. His cohorts, this is Robert Miller. This story, it's not just some rich pervert banging high school girls and younger, because his youngest victim was 11 years old, started in the 80s. He had decades of child prostitution and rape. He had co-conspirators. He had an ex-cop. He had his own security company working for this. He bought homes just to have a headquarters for these serial rapes. This went on and on for decades. He finally gets convicted. His co-conspirators are being rounded up and jailed. It's not even news. It was news for like a day. Thanks to Radio Canada and like local channels up there, we have a little bit of news. I'm going to show you a video about what went down with the hockey bag bandit, the fuck tub weirdo. And then I'm going to come back and update you on a little bit of good news about what's happened in this case. But you got to ask yourself, why wasn't this bigger news? And over on Substack, this is a series. We got Robert Miller, we got Mike Jeffries, we got Peter Nygaard, in addition, obviously, to Jeffrey Epstein and Glenn Maxwell, Robert Kraft, Leon Black. There is a Jean-Luc Burnell. All these rich bastards raping kids or engaged in, serial prostitution. It tells you something about the culture, and it lets you know how easy it was to rope all these people in because they already behave that way. Anyway, let's start off. This is Robert Miller, Raymond Poulet, and the rest of them. Let's get to it.
On this edition of The Fifth Estate, he's a reclusive Montreal billionaire. This private investigator was hired to tail.
Every night, there were females going in and out of the place.
Tonight, the disturbing story unfolds.
The expression is, he was grooming us.
What went on behind closed doors from the people who were there.
How old were the girls you'd bring him?
15, 16.
Was that part of the request?
He would have liked to have someone my age or younger.
Who told you that?
Bob.
And what we've learned about the attempts to keep all this secret.
They said, look, we'll make you an offer. We'll give you $300,000. Stop doing the investigation and give us what you got.
One of his security people had said to me, I don't know what the big deal is. So he had a bunch of hookers in his room. Hookers? What the hell are you talking about? These are kids.
I'm Mark Kelly. It can take years for survivors to have the courage to break their silence. Imagine trying to do that when your abuser is one of the most powerful people in the province. His name is Robert G. Miller, known simply as Bob to the women who say years ago he paid them for sex. At least one was as young as 14. And long before the Me Too movement, long before Harvey Weinstein, Jeffrey Epstein, and Peter Nygard would all face criminal charges, there were whispers in Montreal about the secretive billionaire businessman. A team of journalists at the Radio-Canada program Enquête have spent months investigating those allegations, which he strenuously denies. In fact, a police investigation years ago ended without charges. How then to explain the women's stories and why there were so many young girls around Robert Miller? This is The Fifth Estate.
I received a phone call from a female, and she said, well, I need an investigator, and my sources tell me that you're probably the most honest one I can find.
It's 2006 in Vermont. Two private detectives from Montreal are meeting with a woman who lives in the city, but insists they meet south of the border.
Our meeting place was in Vermont, which surprised me. I said, why not Montreal? She says, well, I'm scared to go to Montreal because my ex-husband terrified of him.
Their client tells them she suspects her ex-husband is involved in disturbing sexual activities.
She saw things that she was sure were pornographic material. She said she's horrified at it. She wanted me to take a look at her husband with an investigation and surveillance and see what's going on.
John Westlake spent 3 decades with the Montreal police before becoming a private eye. He's done his fair share of matrimonial investigations, but nothing quite like this. Their target isn't just anybody. He's one of the wealthiest people in Quebec, the founder of a multinational electronic parts company.
Future Electronics belongs to Robert Miller. It's one of the biggest distributors of electronic components on the planet and one of Quebec's most secretive companies. Its sales reach $2 billion per year. It employs 5,000 people across the globe, including 1,500 people at its headquarters in Pointe-Claire, near Montreal.
The company's reclusive owner rarely makes headlines. Few articles and even fewer pictures exist. Robert Miller is a very private man.
Andy, is this a well-known company, Future Electronics? I'd never heard of it.
Well, it's a private family-owned company, and to be honest, the main reason the company's been distinguished is that the fellow who owns it bought Charles Bronfman's house in Montreal, and at the time he had purchased the most expensive house in the country.
That's Robert Miller, is the
Robert
CEO?
Miller.
Yeah, right.
According to Forbes, the businessman is worth nearly $2 billion US. He's one of the richest people in Quebec, a man with power and influence in this country. He has 2 private jets whose data has been removed from public databases, an uncommon step. And his luxurious home has been blurred on Google Street View.
So where are we right now?
We're in Westmount on Wood Avenue. We'll be at Sherbrooke Street and we'll turn right.
Westlake's investigation was based here in Westmount, an affluent Montreal neighborhood.
Turn left at the lights.
It's on these streets that his team followed Robert Miller's Mercedes back in 2006.
This is Green Avenue.
The secretive pursuit led them here.
Okay, this is green.
You go about 50 feet, there's a parking lot, you'll turn right.
We're going in the parking lot?
Yep.
The detectives watched Robert Miller turn into this parking lot.
When he pulled in here, we kind of thought he was going to park and go to a restaurant or something, but then we noticed the garage door go up, and then he went. And minutes later, 4, 5, 6 minutes later, the guys on Olivier were parked there, and they saw him come out of this house and go across the street to the next one. We were kind of taken back, and we had to reorganize.
They watch Robert Miller's car go into this garage, connected to a house which we learn he happens to own. He then walks out across the street and into another house, 380 Olivier Avenue.
Because that wasn't his main house.
No, his main house was in Upper Westmount on Summit Crescent.
The investigators watching him wonder how Miller is using these two houses, located a mere 5-minute drive from his own home.
After 3 or 4 days, myself and my team, we were amazed what was going on. After working hours at 5, 6 o'clock, every night there were females going in and out of the place. We saw how the system was going. There was a light would go on off the house he was at, but meaning, oh, someone's coming. That's how we knew. So we were ready, and a taxi would come. A girl would get out and go in the house and spend some time there. We were concerned that there was some young girls. When I mean young, 16, 17, 15 years old, we didn't know.
According to their report, the detectives spent 3 weeks observing the billionaire. 14 times, they say they saw young women, often in pairs, coming in and out of the house while Miller was inside. 19 young women in all. They identify a few, like this one, in her 20s, and another they confirmed to be 17, a minor.
There were definitely young girls. Whether they were 16 or 17, I couldn't tell, but they certainly looked young.
What was going on inside that house? How old were the other girls? Miller's lawyer told us the businessman was unable to grant us an interview. He's too sick, in the final stages of Parkinson's disease. But we had other sources. The answers to our questions would have to come directly from those women who visited the billionaire on Olivier Avenue or elsewhere.
We know that the girls went in and they always came out with bags.
Gifts?
Gifts, sure, it has to be gifts. You know, we had a storage house with clothes in the West Island, so we have to assume that all that stuff came from there.
The investigators shot this video of Miller coming out of a warehouse in West Montreal with a young woman carrying a hockey bag. Our investigation would reveal more about the role these bags played in Miller's many meetings with the young women. Back on Olivier Avenue, Westlake and his team notice a couple of men outside Miller's houses. That's when they realized the watchers were being watched. Their investigation had been compromised.
I was approached by his security team, 2 of them, who worked directly for him. And we did meet in a restaurant in the West End of Montreal. They questioned me about, well, you know, you're doing investigation on our boss or something, John, can we talk about it? So I said, well, there's not very much to talk about it. And here I'm sitting looking at this guy saying, what are you guys trying to pull here? The meeting was cut short and we left.
Around this time, during a dinner with friends, John Westlake discovers he's not the only one who knows Robert Miller's secrets.
She found out and she said, John, are you doing something with Miller?
Donna Loupret is a friend of John Westlake's. She's flown to Montreal at our request. She now lives in another part of the country, but she wanted to tell us what she witnessed here in the late 90s.
My name's Donna Loupret, and I was the director of security for the Intercontinental Hotel in Montreal. We're responsible for the safety and security of our guests and our employees.
Today, she's returning to the Intercontinental Hotel for the first time in years. She takes us inside this suite, room 2520. It triggers some uncomfortable memories.
Still the same. There's the tub. There's the famous tub. It's disgusting how we used to describe this tub.
What did you use to describe it as?
Well, it's pretty vulgar. It's called a fuck tub. I was just hoping that one of the girls would be crying or something so I could say, can I help you? Just anything. So we're in room 2520. This room was rented by a man by the name of Robert Miller.
This is back in 1999, 7 years before what John Westlake witnessed at the houses on Olivier Avenue.
Mr. Miller would stay in his hotel in a week, like say out of 7 days, 4 to 5 days. He never spent the night, never spent the night. He didn't sleep overnight here.
A hotel room rented year-round and located 15 minutes from his Westmount mansion.
Why would somebody be staying in our hotel like day in, day out, never staying overnight, and renting a room that lives here in Montreal? Like, it's mind-boggling. So I wanted to find out.
In a written statement, Miller's lawyer says the businessman stayed at the hotel to rest and that he had the tub modified because of his illness.
Mr. Miller wanted a big, huge bathtub installed in the bathroom. So he had that installed. He picked it out. Our chief engineer at the time installed it. He paid for it.
Donna Lupret says she began hearing troubling stories from her employees.
My team that worked at night would report to me, Donna, it's terrible. These girls are so young. So what are you talking about?
She was told they saw young women regularly heading up to the 25th floor.
And how often were there girls? How many girls and how old?
I couldn't tell you how many girls a night. I couldn't tell you that.
But more than one?
Yes. I personally seen some of them. Young girls, basically all the same, tiny, small, young, dark hairs, most of them. Very pretty little girls.
Lupret begins to understand Miller's system.
This guy, Raymond, he would go and pick up the girls. Where, I have no idea, but he'd go pick up the girls and he'd bring them to the hotel.
Raymond is this man, Raymond Poulet, a middleman who works for Robert Miller. He often occupied a nearby suite on the same floor.
So he would bring them to 2500, and then from there, the girls would be brought down here. And then after they were finished here, they would bring them back there to Mr. Poulet's room. And from there, the girls would leave.
Lupret says she spoke to Miller once over the phone. He called to complain that her security personnel was disturbing Raymond Poulet. She took the opportunity to ask Miller a question.
By the way, Mr. Miller, aren't those girls awfully young? He says, no, you don't understand. They are my nieces. I said, your nieces? You got a hell of a lot of nieces. And then he hung up. But what I don't understand is when I said those girls were awfully young, why didn't he ask me what did I mean by that? He didn't ask me anything like that. He knew damn well what I was saying.
Despite her suspicions, Lupret says she felt her hands were tied. The young women coming to the hotel never complained about Robert Miller.
How do you call the police when there's no complaint? So I did inquire about it. I really did, because it bothered me. But what do we do? Like, if you don't have any complaint, it's kind of hard to do, right?
Our team spent months tracking down women who may have had knowledge of the Miller system. We discovered a story far bigger than we anticipated, taking place in various locations from 1994 to 2006. Many women didn't want to revisit this period of their lives. Others said they were too scared. But some were finally ready to talk.
I was a teenager and I had run away from a youth center.
We're calling this woman Jane. Like all the women who spoke to us, we agreed to protect her identity because she's fearful of speaking out.
That's when I met Raymond Poulet, who, at the time, was Robert Miller's main pimp.
Robert Miller.
She said Poulet showered her with gifts and praise.
He would talk about the fact that I was prettier than the others, smarter than the others. He was essentially promising me the comfort I was craving.
Because she was special, she says Poulet introduced her to his VIP client, Robert Miller. This was in 1995.
We had no idea who he was. We called him Bob. There had never been any photos of him out there, so we didn't know that Bob was really Robert Miller.
Jane is saying we because she wasn't alone. Robert Miller frequently requested 2 girls at a time, and the mysterious billionaire had other requirements.
We always had to bathe. The first time I had to wash myself in front of him, and everything had to be very clean. I know he often asked the girls to go to the doctors to get tests done, AIDS tests. He didn't want to use condoms, but he wanted to make sure the girls weren't sick.
Jane says she had 2 sexual encounters with Miller when she was 17 and then 18 years old. She describes a man who was never violent or aggressive, but who was obsessed with novelty.
Robert didn't like to sleep with the same girls for very long. He needed a variety. Each girl had an expiration date. He'd get sick of them.
Jane says she crossed paths with some of the other young women who met Miller through Raymond Poulet.
It wasn't only minors, because at first he had to take what Raymond was offering him. But I know that request came after.
What was the youngest you saw?
I'm pretty sure she was 14. I'm pretty sure.
Like a mature-looking 14, or?
No, a 14-year-old with little curls and a baby face.
Is it possible that Robert Miller didn't know that?
It's impossible. It's impossible.
That they were minors.
That he didn't know that they were minors.
The women who shared their stories talk about meeting Miller in different Montreal hotels. Here, and here at the Intercontinental, the hotel where Donna Lupret worked.
One of his security people had said to me, I don't know what the big deal is. So he had a bunch of hookers in his room. Hookers? What the hell are you talking about? These are kids. There was no hookers in his room.
In the early 2000s, Miller left the hotel circuit for this house in Westmount, his new home base for his widening web of young women.
We spent months investigating allegations against Robert Miller, a reclusive Quebec billionaire. We've spoken to 10 young women who shared intimate details of their experiences with Miller. Six of them were minors. He was decades older. Samantha and Sophie, names we've given them, don't know each other, but they both knew Robert Miller in the late 90s.
We went up to his room.
The room she's talking about belongs to Robert Miller's middleman, Raymond Poulet.
He offered us a drink. He ordered us food. It was, and I remember this, a filet mignon with béarnaise sauce. It was my first time eating this, and it was so fancy. I was like, wow, this is how rich and famous people live. The expression is, he was grooming us.
He said I could introduce you. He would really like you. Because you're really the prettiest, the smartest of all the girls I know. And he would repeat this. He would really insist.
He told me that we'd talk, that he was super smart, that he knew a lot of people. He said that maybe I should kiss him or something like that. I had no idea. I just trusted him.
But then he was like, maybe you could just take a bath. I said, a bath? Yeah, maybe. Eventually I said, okay, I'll go. But I'm only gonna take a bath with him. His teeth were so white, like really, really white. He was neat and clean-cut and just looked very calm. He brought me to a sofa in the living room.
There, she says Miller showed her pictures of a naked girl. For Sophie, he took a different approach.
He said one of his friends was a Victoria's Secret supermodel. He told me that he helped her get to where she was and that he'd help me become a supermodel, just like her.
Sophie wasn't alone. The friend who recruited her was also in the hotel room. But Samantha was alone with Miller.
So he says, okay, now let's go take a bath. He's like, I'll wash you, then you'll wash me. I thought, whoa, okay, I'm gonna have to wash all of him. I didn't know I had to wash him, and he was going to wash all of me.
It went further than you thought.
Yeah. I haven't really spoken about it. Sorry. He started washing me everywhere, really everywhere, even my genitals. I thought, is he gonna use his finger? And that's what he did. He washed me while inserting his finger inside me. You tell yourself, it's just a bath. But I think I was traumatized. Then he steps out of the tub. He puts on his white bathrobe and he says, you can go to the bedroom now. I'm lying in his bed, thinking, what should I do? How can I get myself out of this now? I'm trapped. But he came in, and I found the words to say, I don't feel well. I don't think I'll be able to do anything more.
She says Miller didn't argue. He let her leave. Samantha was 15 years old. Sophie was only 14 and a half. At a certain point, did you understand what you had to do?
Well, yeah. Yes. I was thinking, well, you got yourself into this situation, so he brought us into his room, and well, that was it. We had sexual intercourse. He didn't wear a condom. It was really disgusting. Yeah. I just closed my eyes and tried to think of something else.
Sophie says Miller gave her $1,000. Samantha says she got $750 and a lifetime of regret.
You wonder, was it really worth it for that money? It really wasn't. It's like you feel so dirty, and you have to live with those memories your whole life.
Who can you tell? Especially at that age. I wasn't about to go see my mother like, hey, Mom, I really don't feel well. I slept with an old man for money. Can you help me?
What did you do with that money at that age? I know you hid it, but...
I bought drugs, lots of booze. I gave some away. I couldn't bring it home. My family would have asked questions, like where it came from. I delivered the paper. That was my job. You don't make $1,000 delivering newspapers.
In the early 2000s, Robert Miller changes his approach. He ditches Raymond Poulet and gets Sam Abrams, his right-hand man, to help manage his meetings with the girls. Those encounters take place here. The house private investigator John Westlake was watching. No one lives in this house, but it seems set up to impress young women. Many describe the same experience. First, a drink in the lounge.
I know this is really disgusting, but I have some good news. I'd like to share with you this fact that this year, and it's disgusting that it has to happen this year. It should have been ages ago, but Raymond Poulet was arrested. That file should be there. It is. Associate of Montreal billionaire arrested and charged with multiple sex crimes. Yeah, he pimped. He also slept with the girls too. But it gets a lot worse when you get to Sam Joseph Abrams, who would just present himself as Joseph to the girls. He worked at Future Electronics. After this expose is done, I'm going to come back and fill in the details and what has happened since then.
Glass of Bailey's. Then a visit to the basement. Julia, who was 17 when she first met Miller, describes the rest.
We would go to the basement and choose our presents. There were walls of CDs. It was like a store for us, you know, when you're young.
There was so much Victoria's Secret stuff. It was pretty impressive.
You had clothing and jewelry. We would take anything we wanted and fill these hockey bags.
I remember thinking, wow, he must see a lot of people if he has all these things.
Then it's time to go upstairs to the bedrooms. At this point, after everything they've received, the girls are expected to give back. First stop, a bathroom reserved for the young women. They have to wash thoroughly, sometimes even shave. Then the final destination.
I'm sorry, but filling up a hockey bag full of goodies is the most Canadian thing I've ever seen.
Robert Miller's bedroom.
There were also sex toys. We had to choose what we wanted to use. He'd open boxes. He liked having 2 girls at a time, so that meant we had someone with us to kind of encourage us to power through it. But in all, it went by relatively quickly.
Before they left, the women say Robert Miller would hand them envelopes filled with cash, anywhere between $1,500 and $4,000, according to sources. Then the girls would leave with the famous hockey bag of gifts, like this young woman the detectives caught on camera back in 2006.
We didn't stay long either. It was usually less than 2 hours and we'd be gone.
Visits that lasted less than 2 hours and often included sexual intercourse. This is what many of the women described. In response to these specific allegations, Robert Miller's attorney said his client has been impotent for more than 20 years. To support this claim, this note from a neurologist who says he's known Robert Miller since 1996. The note says the billionaire suffers from very severe erectile difficulties, which could be caused by Parkinson's disease. According to our sources, Robert Miller showered his favorites with more lavish gifts. They say they were given trips with their friends in limos and taken to expensive hotels, boutiques, and restaurants. Remember, these were girls who were 16 and 17 years old. Just 14, Sophie isn't offered those perks. Robert Miller has a different proposition for her.
He said I could make more money, that I could bring him new girls instead. He said he was really my friend and that he would take care of me.
So you understood that to continue making money, you had to bring him other girls.
Yep.
What did that change for you?
I didn't have to sleep with this disgusting man. When we brought other girls, they were the ones he would sleep with, not the person who brought them. So that's a big part of the guilt I've been living with.
What's that?
That I dragged other people into this.
He would ask the girls to bring him new young girls. And there was a reward at the end. If you introduce me to a friend, I'll give you $1,000.
How old were the girls you'd bring him?
15, 16.
Was that part of the request?
He would have liked to have someone my age or younger. That he would tell me.
Who told you that?
At one point, he even asked me to bring him someone who had never had sex. I said, forget about it.
He asked you to bring him a virgin.
Yep.
In this letter to CBC, Robert Miller's lawyer says his client never had sexual relations with anyone under the age of consent. At the time, that was 14. But the criminal code is clear. Any paid sexual encounter with a minor is a criminal act, whether there is consent or not. This is confirmed by several jurists. When there is payment, the minor's consent is null and void. Miller's lawyer concludes in his response to the CBC, there are simply no victims here, save for my client, if you decide to air these untrue and defamatory allegations.
And in the end, he didn't care about me. He didn't want to be my friend. He didn't want to help me. All he wanted was to have more girls for himself. Whether it was me or someone else, anyone else. It didn't change anything. I don't think he ever stopped to wonder what impact this would have on us. Not a single time.
In 2006, private investigator John Westlake and his partner had been watching the billionaire Robert Miller for weeks, but they'd been spotted. Again, he and his partner were summoned to a meeting with Miller's security team. They want to know what Westlake knows, and they're willing to pay for answers.
They said, look, we'll make you an offer. You're going to make us an offer? Really? What's the offer? Steve Roberts said, we'll give you $300,000 to stop doing the investigation and give us what you got.
$300,000 each to stop investigating their boss. John Westlake and his partner stand and leave the restaurant.
And myself and Andre went directly to the police department and told them what happened. We presented him to our reports and said, look, we can't do anything more. We can't arrest, we can't do that, but we can provide you with what we got.
Montreal police start investigating, and Donna Loupret is happy to talk to them.
The lady detective came out to see me where I was, and they did a video of me testifying. So I said, oh, now it's going to stop. Now he's going to stop.
In 2009, Montreal police show up at the headquarters of Miller's company, Future Electronics, with a search warrant in hand. According to our sources, their target was actually NCIS, Robert Miller's security team. Their offices are under the same roof. That same year, Miller and his associates are brought into a police station. We got hold of these pictures, taken by police to help victims identify them. First, a rare photo of the reclusive billionaire. Then, Terry Corcoran and former police officer Stephen Roberts, who make up his security team. There's also Miller's middleman, Raymond Poulet. On LinkedIn, Poulet's job title is Personal Advisor to the President of Future Electronics. Finally, Sam Abrams, who is also the main contact with many of the girls. His official title? Executive VP of Future Electronics.
J'étais seule à la maison le soir.
I was home alone one night,
Ça cogne à la porte.
and there was a knock on. It was the police.
They want to question Robert Miller's victims. Sophie says she felt pressured to tell police what she knew.
Et ils voulaient que je leur parle.
They wanted me to tell them about Bob and everything, or else they said they would arrest me for running a child prostitution ring.
Sinon, je venais.
At 14 and 15.
Exactly.
She reminded police she was barely into her teens then. She went on to university and now has a career. But she says that made no difference to the officers.
Puis que on s'en fout.
They said my age back then didn't matter, that I'd be tried as an adult with an adult sentence, that my career really didn't matter.
J'étais complètement flabbergasté.
I was completely flabbergasted,
Fait que
and I felt that I had no choice but to cooperate.
je me suis senti là,
I just felt so shitty,
comme si dans le fond.
as if all of this had been my fault.
à moi, là.
They treated us like criminals. They came to my house and they fingerprinted me. They took my picture from all angles. We're victims here. Treating victims like this is so intimidating. I didn't tell them anything. Barely.
Because you were scared?
I was scared. I was so scared.
Jane was worried because a man she barely knew came to the police station with her. A man who did the same thing with several young women.
Robert set us up with a lawyer. It was the same lawyer for all the girls. He was with us during the police interrogations.
What was this lawyer's role?
I think his role was to make sure we didn't speak.
Ultimately, Sophie decided to tell police everything she knew. It won't be enough. The investigation ended without any charges being laid.
On m'a jamais tenu au courant de ce qui se
They
passait.
never told me what was going on.
Personne qui m'a appelé, à part
No one ever called me to say that no charges would be laid.
We found out later on, went to the prosecutor's office and sat there for a couple of years, I believe, and then we never heard again that they wouldn't proceed.
I mean, I didn't understand, like, because, you know, we're kind of silly like that. I'm kind of a person that if you break the law, you're going to have to pay for it, you know, so I didn't understand. So I turned around and I said to the detective, I'll always remember my words. Okay, so when you find a prosecutor who's got some balls, give me a call.
We contacted the men suspected of participating in Miller's system.
Est-ce que je peux parler à Raymond Poulet, s'il vous plaît?
Oui, c'est moi.
Raymond Poulet refused our interview request.
Je ne souhaite pas vous rencontrer parce que je suis pas au courant de ce que vous parlez.
Good day, this is Terry Corcoran of NCIS.
We also contacted Robert Miller's security team.
Please leave a message. I'll get back to you as soon as possible.
Their written response comes through a lawyer. He vigorously denies allegations made against Stephen Roberts, Terry Corcoran, and his company.
Hello?
Oui, bonjour. Est-ce que je peux parler à Sam Abrams?
Woman.
As for Sam Abrams, we reached him at his Future Electronics office.
We're doing a story about a system in which underage girls for lots of years were paid for sex by Mr. Miller through you and other people.
Okay. Let me speak to Mr. Miller.
Sam Abrams never called us back. Finally, through his lawyers, Robert Miller says the allegations against him are false and malicious, and that the police investigation into this matter was closed with no charges laid.
I think that in this network, there was only one client, and it was him. I don't see a context in which he wasn't the one running this.
Why did it take so long for people to speak up? It's been 20 years.
Well, most of the girls who saw him had no idea who he was. That makes it kind of hard to complain when you don't know who you're dealing with.
25 years later, despite everything we now know about consent, manipulation, the grooming of young girls, and the Me Too movement, Sophie still blames herself.
Obviously, I wasn't at an age where I could consent to any of that. But I put myself in that position. No one forced me. But that's still a feeling I have all the time.
You know, there might be a few viewers thinking, well, they were paid. They could have stopped and left.
And to some extent, I almost agree with them. It's like someone saying, oh, well, look, she was wearing a short skirt, you know? If that's what some viewers want to think, I just hope those people don't have daughters.
What would you say to other girls who might be watching at home who've been through the same thing but are afraid to talk?
Speak out. Speak out. File a complaint. Bob is Robert Miller.
We contacted both the Montreal Police and the Crown Prosecutor's Office to discuss the investigation. Citing reasons of privacy, both declined our interview request. However, the Crown Prosecutor's Office encouraged anyone connected to the case to contact the Montreal Police, adding that any new evidence would be considered.
All right, it's disgusting. This happened though. Judge ordered seizure of homes belonging to Montreal billionaire accused of sex abuse. He will not be going to trial himself. He's too sick physically, not just mentally. Poulet's been arrested. Abrams, the rest of them, they're going after these people. I encourage you to see the Substack because what I'm about to say is all sourced in there. You can click and read the links and things. You know, he bought a house from Charles Bronfman, the head of these, it used to be the United Jewish Appeals, but it's now a combo of United Jewish Appeals, United Israel Appeals, and a Zionist Council together. His nieces were financing the Nexium cult, and not to some small degree. $100 million from Claire and Sarah Bronfman. Claire went to jail herself. Here's our calendar, by the way. You can order this, ladies. Got the ANC logo on the bottom. The quote is from the Puppet Master. And of course, today, August 6th in Asia, the anniversary of American terrorists dropping a nuclear bomb on Hiroshima, followed up by bombing Nagasaki on the 9th. There's a write-up on that, also on Substack, of all the people who opposed doing that because Japan had been trying to surrender unconditionally. Well, with the same conditions they ended up surrendering on, they still kept the emperor even after the bombings, and that's what they were offering before the bombings. They elected a new government in April with the principal goal of surrendering to America. It was already over. There's no reason to do it other than it was America's flex on the Soviet Union and everyone else, and live action weapons testing of plutonium and uranium bombs. Have to say that. I have to say that every year. I mean, it's disgusting that, like, what's happened in Gaza. They're thinking possibly 300 to 400,000 people murdered over the last couple of years. That happened instantaneously with these bombs. Hundreds of thousands of people, kids, whole families, animals, crops, buildings, everything dustified. And I would encourage you people who are going around because you learned something from a meme being like, well, if you add up the tonnage, the equivalent of like 7 atomic bombs have been dropped on Gaza. No, I am all 100% for Gaza and against the killing and genocide there, have been before it was cool. But it is not the equivalent of an atomic bomb. The atomic bomb, aside from the radiation that also doesn't exist in conventional bombs on Gaza, the problem with it is not the force of the blast. You're talking about a bomb circumference measured in miles, not meters. And it's not just the blast force, like comparing to TNT. Well, it has this much. It's the heat. You're making a 2 mile radius bubble of 7,000 degrees. That is what destroys everything. If an atomic bomb had been dropped on Gaza City, there wouldn't be a Gaza City. It wouldn't be rubble. You wouldn't have soldiers rummaging through and grabbing lingerie or anything, because nothing like that. It would all burn. Everything would be gone. And if you drop 7 of them, that would be it. The reason they didn't is because the radiation would flow into Israel too. I think the only reason they haven't used nuclear weapons on Gaza is because the radiation would affect the Israelis. Otherwise, they wouldn't care. They're systematically murdering these people. Hundreds of them have been shot as they line up for food to get aid. And even if a kid goes to get the food, they'll shoot them too. And Trump's not going to do anything. He's like, it's up to the Israelis, whatever. But why? Well, when you look at this billionaire donor class that finances these politicians to affect this foreign policy, for a country where 61% of the men don't consider using force to gain sex to be rape. That's what Israeli men don't conclude that as rape. It's because they're compromised. They're caught up in these sexual rings, and they could be prosecuted, but they're not. Like, once you've got the goods on them, they have to keep the cash flow going to AIPAC. And Bronfman knew Robert Miller, sold him a house. They financed the NXIVM cult. They also financed Ehud Barak and pumped money into the Wexner Foundation. They all know each other. Wexner knew Miller too. That's why he had closets full of Victoria's Secret items. It was right after, like the year Wexner bought Victoria's Secret, which I believe 1982, is when Miller has his first victim, and he knew all of them. He knew Burnell and that whole syndicate. Jean-Luc Burnell, that's going to be another story, another Substack, because it definitely needs attention, and it hasn't been sussed out, and it ought to be, and I will be doing that. Go over to ryandawson.org and sign up for these, because we're doing Miller. We're going to do one on Mike Jeffries. We're going to do one on Jean-Luc Burnell. We're going to do one on Robert Kraft. We're going to do one on Peter Nygaard. We're going to follow these and tell you what's been going on. This is not unique to Jeffrey Epstein. A lot of these billionaire donor class types, for whatever reason, are into fucking kids. K-Joe drops in on Entropy 30, says, "G'day, mate. I've read your Substack on this topic. Everyone sign up for Ryan's Substack. Couldn't agree more. It's free. You can throw in $6 a month. I don't think you would even notice it. I mean, $6 won't even buy you lunch most places. And this isn't per day. This is per month. It really, I mean, all of you could do it. Voluntarist with the 25 says, fuck Israel, fuck Lincoln, fuck Zionism, and fuck PayPal. That might be the most perfect shekel chat I've ever read. Like Lincoln, Zionism, Israel, and PayPal. The reason we're using Entropy again instead of Rumble, and I know there was a donation on Rumble, and I will read it. I cannot cash out on Rumble because Rumble only now, they used to do direct to bank. They only use PayPal, and I can't use PayPal. I can't even use someone else's PayPal. They sit there and monitor me. Like I've got someone assigned to me, like, don't let him use this. So all the money I have on Rumble is just sitting there. I don't have a way of contacting the people at Rumble, although I've spoken to them before. They're just not answering me. Like, is there a way to get the money off of there some other way than PayPal? And I know I can't be the only person with this problem because a lot of people, almost everybody on Rumble is on there because they're banned from YouTube. There's a huge overlap from people banned on YouTube being banned on PayPal. I mean, that's the whole point. And it's a kind of soft censorship from Rumble because like, oh, we're not censoring. PayPal is. But it's a way of demonetizing people because you fucking know that we're all banned on PayPal. Defiant Dissident for 20 says, fuck Israel, fuck Lincoln, fuck Zionism. There you go. Repeat. And then did it over on Entropy. Violet Knight says, just wanted to send something for the work you do. And Les Cush for Dead Lincoln says, subscribe for $5. Yeah, you can. I think it's $6. Maybe it's $5. Whatever it is on Substack. It's like $5 or $6 a month. It works out to $50 a year. You get 2 months for free. So that's 2 months and change for free. And I'd appreciate if you just sign up for the year. So I don't have to stress of whether it's coming next month or not. But RyanDawson.org. We're going to be doing the whole series on this. And each one of them linked back to Epstein through Bronfman or Wexner. In Nygaard's case, he also knew Prince Andrew. Prince Andrew, I've called him the Kevin Bacon of pedo rings. He just knows them all. What a weirdo. Randy Andy used to put cameras in his teddy bears. He'd get a new teddy bear every birthday. Even when he's like 50, he'd get a new teddy bear for his birthday. And he would outfit them with cameras. And he had them positioned around his bedroom and stuff. And nobody was allowed to touch him. The maids, he'd throw a fit. It's like, yeah, he's got them angled to film what he's doing. Disgusting prick. Okay. That's all on Entropy. Here is the link on Substack. If you're watching this on Rumble, I'm putting the link in there right now. On Twitter, just go to RyanDawson.org. It's the second most recent post. The number one is on the Hiroshima Nagasaki bombing. The one after that's on Robert Miller. I found another $105 million in Epstein lawsuits. It's just never ending. And that's not over. I did a 2-hour show with Dimitri K last night, Korea time, going over the Stacey Plaskett case. Well, it went over all the Epstein in general, but Stacey Plaskett was at the end of that interview, which is an ongoing trial that does have co-conspirators for commercial sex. This could still bring the Epstein ring down. It's a case out of the Virgin Islands. Their selected representative that goes to the House of Representatives for the Virgin Island, they is on trial, and that is updated as recently as March of this year, March 26th, 2025. So her trial will be coming. She's trying to get it dismissed. We cannot let that happen. This is how, like, if all you people have all this energy in the Epstein case, this is where the pressure needs to be. Do not throw this out. She's trying to appeal and be like, oh, sweetheart deal, whatever. Judge already said no once. But it was more of like her filing process and stuff wasn't very good. She only devoted like a sentence to her defense. They're like, you gotta try harder than that. It makes us look bad if you just write a sentence because you're expecting this outcome. You gotta like go through the hoops or whatever. If she is, if her case is tossed, that's it. I mean, there are no more. I mean, you could just hope that Glenn Maxwell finds a soul and spills the beans or gets a plea bargain. It's unlikely. Trump is protecting himself and his own donors. He even talked about giving her a pardon. It'd almost be great if he did, because his base would totally abandon him, and I think they would turn to violence. I think if you pardon Glenn Maxwell, all Trump properties would burst into flames. He'd have to have round-the-clock security for Trump Tower and everything else because there's just that would be the sickest thing. He already pardoned 14 Blackwater criminals who murdered and raped civilians. That happened right away. No one seemed to care. It's hard. You got to get the right people to pay attention to these stories. And it's kind of because people like Tucker talked about Epstein, that Epstein's a big deal. If Tucker would talk about Robert Miller or Peter Nygard or Mike Jeffries or these other billionaire perverts, then those would become big stories. You really need the few, major influencers to get on these things. But as I said at the beginning of this, every single one of you watching has heard about the accusations of the Tate brothers. But I bet many of you, unless you heard it from me, did not know about Robert Miller, who raped little girls for decades. And he had so many co-conspirators. I mean, it really is just unconscionable that he could get away with this for so long. When you're having like Helmut Lipman and Sam Joseph Abrams and Raymond Poulet and Stephen Roberts and Terrence Corcoran and all his associates, and he paid off people in the hotels and stuff too. Obviously, they knew kids were going in there, and it's like, oh, he rented it year round. They just let it go. That was also the Queen Elizabeth Hotel and the Intercontinental Hotel. He had more hotels. He had a couple houses. There's a lot that he got away with, and he didn't act alone. He hired ex-cops. He had his own security company. When they raided Future Electronics, there was an office within an office of his, what do you call it? The NCIS, the National Criminal Investigation Service, which is not national. It's just the name. It's his security service. And he put these guys on it. Some of the executive vice presidents, their real job was scheduling Miller's extracurricular activities where, they'd book the hotels and the dinners and so on. And what a weird pervert, man. He renovated a room to add a giant bathtub. And who knows how many of these girls got pregnant since he's having unprotected sex and they'd have to abort or just have it. A lot of them were afraid too. There was some violence involved. That thing I showed you didn't cover everything. Yeah, somebody on Twitter saying liquid something said hadn't heard about any of this. Thanks for the stream. No, you will not have heard of me. I'm doing a bunch of these. Like, this isn't ancient news. This was this year and last year. He got arrested in 2024. His cohorts were arrested in July, like weeks ago. Okay, this is very recent. This isn't from even the 90s or 80s, which is still not that long ago. I mean, you've got, what was it, the North Dakota state senator, Holmberg, went to Czech Republic, or they say Europe, but it was Czech Republic, 14 times to have sex with minors, little boys. He was homosexual. And he encouraged staffers and others, and this is in his emails. This is why I can say this. Like, we have the communication records. He encouraged others to do the same. Yeah, go on a sex tourism. Like, let's just go to Europe and you can do that. You can bang a child. And he was having sex with boys as young as 12. Ray Holmberg, he was popped last year, sentenced this year. Of course, he's in his 80s, like all of them. Nygaard was in his 80s. Miller was in his 80s. They don't ever go to jail until they've already had a lifetime career of rape and abuse. And then finally, yeah, maybe they'll arrest them because they got one foot in the grave anyway, and they want them to spend all their money in the legal system. So they get that last squeeze out of them because they're useful. Oh, he'll spend this on court to stay out of jail the next 10 years before he dies. How many of you heard about Ray Holmberg? I'm going to go with none. But if it's an accusation for Andrew Tate or Matt Gaetz or Brett Kavanaugh, all of which were untrue, well, we all heard about those stories. Kavanaugh was just in the news cycle constantly. He went back to his people who knew him in high school trying to find accusers. And everything they accused Matt Gaetz of, Joel Greenberg was actually guilty of. That guy, look this up, Joel Greenberg felony. He had 33 felonies. That's Florida politics. You got to look into Pam Bondi's past. You ought to look at Patel's girlfriend and her origins, a little Lewinskyite. Anyway, go over RyanDawson.org. It's sitting there in the bottom left corner. The stories are there. The links are there. Like more than I can memorize. I want you to be able to have this ammo and use it. You know what? Nygaard used to do the same crap in Winnipeg that Miller was doing in Montreal. And the Canadian police, they're really dragging their feet. They were paid off. Miller had a very interesting way, like a lot of stuff. He seemingly had no bank accounts or no records, even though he was a billionaire. He wouldn't hold stuff in his own name. He was doing the Wexner thing. He had a little cutout that manages money and all the crap's in his name, but it's really his money. And he was doing the same thing. This is professional. These rings, the way he laundered his money and hid his money, the way he hired his own security company, he bought properties to use as headquarters for the child rape, bribed off hotel staff, had a custom-made room, even did a shakedown on private investigators, intimidated victims, paid off he had color-coded envelopes like purple, orange, and gold, depending on your level of, performance. You could get up to $4,000. I think it was $1,500 for sex standard, and $750 if you did the fingering and all. But then you left. He got away with it, and the cops they pay him through LLCs, like same thing Epstein did. He would have the Science Foundation pumping $150,000 into the police department in Palm Beach. Just we just like cops, and that's the way. It's just the world is all about grease and palms. There is blackmail, but the world runs on bribery. Like by far, that is the greater and most utilized weapon, is just paying people off. It's bribes. It is. And you can use blackmail to force somebody to bribe, because ultimately the power comes from the bribe. People will deal with blackmail through violence. If you blackmail enough important people, they will Clinton you. But bribery, that it works. People are greedy. They want the money. They're willing to engage in crime to do it. But you will not be protected like Epstein was when you're accused, when you've got 40, count them, girls, and I mean girls, not women, accusing you of what he did. And he gets this sweetheart deal in a 1 day a week jail. That doesn't happen unless you're tied to a state, which he was, and that state is Israel. Les Cush, it's voluntarist for 15, which is a dead Hamilton and a dead Lincoln, two of the best ones to be dead. Says it's a shame. Seems like these pedos and Zionists get to live all the way into their 80s or more. Where's cancer when you need it? Well, that's what took down Robert Miller's Parkinson's disease. And I hate to be a cheerleader for Parkinson's disease. It's an awful disease, awful affliction on anybody. What Muhammad Ali had. But, at least that served as some type of punishment. He got Parkinson's. His dick went limp, and he's got the shakes or whatever. So he physically couldn't engage in this criminal activity any longer. But, Peter Nygaard, he was taking SARMs and Trend and all these other steroids and stuff so he could stay vigor and do his parties with his volleyball and his foosball and his diapers and having girls shit on his face. And he was into scat. We're going to be doing that story. I think we're going to do Mike Jeffries next. You know what I'll do? Let's put it to a vote, guys, on Rumble. Here's your contestant number 1, 2, 3. Would you like to hear next Robert Kraft, billionaire, fell in love with his own prostitutes, by the way, Worked for Leon Black at Global Apollo. He's on the board. Leon Black, of course, the second highest financier of Jeffrey Epstein after Wexner. Would you like to hear the Robert Kraft story? The Mike Jeffries story from Abercrombie and Fitch that was giving young boys enemas and shaving them and all these weird fetishes with the hot pants and gloves, and also a Wexner employee. Like, there's so you've got Robert Kraft, you've got Mike Jeffries, or to be next, or let's see, what would be better, or Peter Nygaard, who's another Canadian weirdo that had a poop fetish and got in a conflict with Sean Connery in the Bahamas. It's kind of funny. And another billionaire, Bacon, who is not clean either. So who would you like to be next on Substack? Kraft, Jeffries, or Nygaard? I'll give you those to pick from. And just vote. We've got one for Kraft already. Yeah, because that was sort of his. They're all interesting and weird things. So, but you may want to vote for the one you know the least about or whatever. Like, I'm going to do them all, but which one would you like next? We got another one for Kraft. All right. And one for Nygaard. Okay. That guy also made it to his 80. I actually met him. Interesting story. I didn't know that I had met him. We was in a steam room with a friend of mine. Took me there after I had this hellish 30-hour flight where I had to fly to China first and then go all the way to LA. And Peter Nygaard was at it's called the Marina, but I think that's the nickname. I don't remember the real name, but those big donut shaped buildings in Marina Del Rey, everybody knows what it is. Brendan Schaub used to live there. Mark Good used to live there. Anyway, because I had this hellish flight, I'm telling this story about people are voting. We got a lot for Kraft and another Nygaard. Only vote once, please. I was like, oh God, I got an airplane. So he's like, yeah, the pool was closed because of something. So I couldn't do the Irish shower. So I went and had a shower, went in a steam room. I don't usually like those, but I was like, it's, I'm being done a favor. My friend is just trying to show his amenities and stuff. So I go in there and, there's just kind of like normal male etiquette where you have a certain spaces apart and you don't whatever. And this weirdo sits on the bench next to me and he's only 2 feet away. So I moved over a couple feet and I just knew it was somebody who had a blonde mullet, because that's kind of unusual to see a mullet, especially a blonde one. But I don't really look at people in the steam room. But later, when we were out and we were up on, I'm not going to say what floor he lives on, but not the first floor, looking down, there is a blonde mullet getting on a motorcycle, and it was Peter Nygaard. And my friend's like, that's Nygaard. He was there doing some volleyball thing or something. And I was like, oh, that's the guy from the steam room with the blonde mullet. I used to do pictures for mulletsgalore.com, the stupid thing, teenage thing, whatever. And I just I can't believe it. I survived. I was nude next to a nude Peter Nygaard and survived without getting touched or anything or pooped on in LA, which is hilarious. If he knew if I had known too, I don't know if I would have gone ahead and taken the assault charge and did the time or what, but the guy was right next to me. Somebody I'm investigating. I thought he was in the Bahamas, but apparently he would go to LA now and then, whatever. Interesting little story. All right, now let's look at the votes. It appears that, not many people into Mike Jeffries at all. So, man, that was a weird story too. He was giving young men enemas and shaving their entire bodies. But Kraft is the winner. So barely, he edged out Nygaard. So I'll be writing up Robert Kraft next, and then Nygaard, and then Jeffries, and we'll go through the whole list. I've talked enough about Wexner, Bronfman, Leon Black, and Epstein. We are going to cover them at the end. I'm waiting until after the 11th and the Glenn Maxwell testimony and stuff to mess with the Epstein story. But okay, Robert Kraft. And guess what? This is going to be on ryandawson.org only. And I'm going to be a dick and I'm going to paywall it because one of these stories has to be. Sorry, it's only $6 a month. So get over there and do that. And looking at Entropy, Voluntress says Robert Kraft. All right, well, he sent $3. So Robert Kraft is the winner. Congratulations. Congrats, Kraft. You sick fuck. Tell Lulu and Ming Bing. Oh, anyway. Okay, dude, we will do it. I'll do a video version of it too, free. But it's not going to be as good as the write-up. Get into ryandawson.org. $6 a month. Just sign up right now and you'll be able to get all these stories, Miller, Kraft, Nygaard, etc., as well as daily updates on what's going on in politics, historical information like the nuking of Japan, the true story about that. We'll be covering, obviously, the conflict in Gaza, periodically the conflicts in Sudan, Ukraine, the new one between Thailand and Cambodia, all on Substack. We'll see you there. Peace. And let's exit with a video on Don't Israel.
Did you just Israel my phone?
God gave it to me.
It's my phone.
God gave it to me.
Back.
God gave it to me.
Oh
my God, America. She's got a knife! Ove! Help! Terrorist! Anti-Semite! I was in the shop, getting my bagels, just using my phone, and this Palestinian terrorist, 3 times my size, wielding a knife, came out of nowhere, broke my arm, tried to take the phone that God gave to me.
Allah Akbar! Allah Akbar!